and he was interested. And as soon as he has the connection between, like, he saw my cards and he was interested in them, but then he automatically went to my necklace too and said gaga. Like, but he knows like how everything's connected, you know. Like, yeah. And his card was adventure.
Wow.
Yeah. So this guy's he has an Instagram called Sacred Beometry. So you can go and check his stuff out. He's a really cool guy too. His name's Gary. Really like beautiful human being, Gary. You know, so yeah. So if you guys want to check out some of his stuff, Sacred Beometry is where he's at. So let's see. Anything else that anyone has to say or share? If, you know, just give everybody an opportunity if they want to say something before we get started.
I have one comment.
Yeah.
So I've been working a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I set a fire under everyone's ass the last 2 weeks, just straight. And I like today I thought about it. I was like, they don't really understand everything that just happened, but in like a few years they'll like appreciate it, you know, because now everyone's involved in trying to get everything done, yada yada yada, the way it's supposed to be.
Wow.
And I just thought, like, yeah, I just have to be me. Just be me. That's it. And it is what it is. You know?
Yeah.
Just
and
be
Sonia's
me.
talking about her work, you guys. Yeah. It is because, you know, we are, and I'm talking about everybody here, because you wouldn't be here if there wasn't something beyond, well beyond this in every one of us. And when you step into your power, not your power over others, not that kind of stuff, but your power, as in through your heart, things must move for you. Yeah. Because we are the reason why everything happens here. And I say we as in not just us, but beings that have their origins in source reality. You know, Darwin said we came from monkeys. I didn't say that, but I know better. And so we are the reason why things, and this is not an ego thing, because the minute you go into the ego, you just eliminate all that power that I'm talking about right now. And not everyone here is human. There are beings from other places wearing human suits. And there are also human beings that are just here to make things interesting.
I cut the number.
Like if you guys play video games, and I'm here, there's the NPC, the non-player character. You know, you know what I mean? Yeah. Anybody know what I mean by that? So I don't want to talk about it where everybody knows what I'm talking about. If you don't, just say you don't.
Like the entry people in Jumanji, and they just keep repeating the same thing.
Exactly. Right?
Yes.
That's actually a thing. So the movies, when they make up stuff, they're actually not making it up. They're taking it from reality, because truth is stranger than fiction. And so those people, I have respect for everyone, NPC, no matter who you are, because at the end of the day, we're all a part of this reality, and we're here to make it a better place.
They create balance, because not everybody can be all love and light. You got to have those who push the people to that breaking point, to you know. So it's both. Oh my God. Okay. Someone wants to say hi.
All right. Oh. Hey, buddy.
Like she's
like a panda.
weird lately, but
He looks like a panda.
Yeah, she looks like everything but a small, long-haired chihuahua. She's a shape.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what for balance. Not everybody. I was like, it's funny because I was like, oh, I was all love and light, hope, this and that. Then when I went through my like dark night, I was like, holy shit, I'm a narcissist, I'm racist, I'm all these things, and I never realized I was all these things.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to comment real quick, just to get about the love and light. There's the love and light group of people that, and I've spent much time around them. And I will say that I've been around when the love and the light had to be the thing that was produced when the environment was that. And it was quite surprising to hear and see that many of them weren't really love and light. And my theory on this, not theory, but the thing is with love and light is what happens after you do the work, after you transform the planet. It is the thing that's on the back end of it. Love and light is what happens once we do the work.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the thing that is going to do the work. And that's what I see a lot of. People say, you know, what the world needs is a whole lot more love. No, what the world needs is a lot more fucking people who have the courage to do something about shit that's happening that's not benefiting humanity or anything else on the planet. That's what we need. And after we do that, then comes the love and the light.
Yeah, no, do the work. You have to do the work first.
Exactly.
I was like, it's like I was like making the pie, but I was jumping straight to the pie. I didn't do the ingredients. And I wanted to spiritual bypass all that. But and when I say like I was a narcissist, I was a racist, I realized that if I laughed at something or, you know, I'm not a racist, I'm not narcissist, but I realized in my ego was, you know, it laughed at certain, it did certain was, but I'm not that now. Because now that I transmuted that, like that was not somebody who's not sitting right here. So I just wanted to make that clear.
No, but that realization, because there's no judgment here, is important because that wasn't really you. That was a false dichotomy of something going on. And then you realize, oh, I'm not really that. So therefore, this has no place here. Goodbye.
Well, yeah, I had to realize I wasn't that, but I had to also realize why I thought this way. And again, it went back to my childhood, the trauma and everything, how I was raised. So it's like, you have to, those breadcrumbs, you got to go back more. You got to go back more. You got to go back a little more. Then you realize where it all comes from. And then you transmute it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have a question for Karen.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I asked you, you know, like who you are. And I was curious if I asked you who you are, how simple your answer would be this time.
I'm neither here nor there. I'm everything and I am nothing.
You are you.
Yeah. By the way,
I remember that. That's crazy.
I'm gonna say in my mushroom experience, because who I thought I wasn't really what I was. And that was one of the things that I needed to hammer down. And it took my third experience to get that. Half of the experience, and I would hear, you are everything. You're everything. Because I was a type of person that was always kind of in my mentality, a background kind of person. And it's quite funny because the people who should be in the foreground are in the background, the people in the background in the foreground. And it was on that time I decided, no more of that. No more of that. But it was half the experience. And then when I and it was in a song, believe it or not. And I don't remember the song, but it was quite rhythmic. And then finally, when I was not convinced, but knew that was the case, they switched. Now you're also nothing. So it's funny you say that because the lesson in my third, that was the entire lesson, by the way, along with learning a little bit about universal rhythm, which I'm not going to get into here. It's a different subject altogether. You're now nothing. And then the tune, the melodies changed. And then at the end of it, I realized, oh. And then I realized, and notice I said through rhythm, you have to be in the rhythm of knowing that you're nothing and also everything. Because you have to become the creator, and it is in the nothing that you become the creator. Because the nothing is darkness. The natural state of everything is darkness. And you create from that. And then you experience the everything. So what you just said is, for me, the thing that we all, it isn't about the perfect answer. For me, that's the thing that we all need to come to realize. Because once we realize that, then the possibilities truly become endless, and not just in the word, because I know we hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. Oh. All right. Yeah, so to get back to the thing, not everyone here has their origins in source per se, even though everything created is created from that. And so the best way to actually put it is, not everyone is eternal. And then say a being, an NPC, when they die, the role that they play in the reality comes to an end. When death doesn't exist for a being that's from source. Death is just the end of a particular deal that we decided on and the beginning of a new one. That's not always true. That's not true for every being. And one of the ways to know that is many of the people who we refer to as elite, they're very interested in creating an AI consciousness to prolong their longevity. I listened to Elon Musk the other day, and he was talking about living through an AI situation because it's the only way, he put it, human beings can live indefinitely. Well, that tells me what kind of being he is. He has an expiration date on his existence. And so that's not true for everyone.
Or is it possible that he's not awake?
He's not awake, but I've looked into Elon Musk. He is not a sole source. He's not a source being. And he doesn't have a lifespan that's eternal. That's why he's creating like Neuralink, huh?
He was talking about putting chips in people's heads to help with dementia. That's for mind control, not.
That's it. Yeah, it's for mind control, and so if you can control people's minds, you can also mine their energy and their resources for your own good. Neuralink is what that's called.
Yeah.
And so he was actually explaining Neuralink, and his explanation completely buys into the agenda of certain beings whose objective is to find a way to bypass their expiration date.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, so it is not possible for, that's why we shouldn't look for everyone to wake up, because it's not possible for someone whose ancestry is not in source or the great central sun. The ancestor of every true human being is the great central sun. I was told that directly from the sun itself a few years ago, directly. And so only those who have that connection, it isn't that we're special or anything, but that's just who we are, because we're the creators of all this. We're the creators of all this. And only about 14% of the population is that. The other 86 are not. That's why we shouldn't look to wake everybody up, because not everybody, it's not possible. It's not possible. Only about 14% of the people on this planet are going to wake up, because those are the ones that need to wake up. And probably not even all of them, because if they don't choose, It's all that is a choice that is individual. Yeah. So enough for the so-called small talk, huh?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said percent of the population. Now, is that of this generation, or because I feel like as the generations go on, like the kids being born now are going to be a lot more different than our generation growing up. So will that number increase as generations come about?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know, because some of those coming in are brand new, but some of those are going to be us coming back as those new generations. So I'll be honest with you, I'm not quite sure about that. This is
Okay.
something that, you know what, something to look into though.
I was just curious because I know like some of like these kids, and I can already see it now. These kids are being raised with love. They are being raised, not having the issues that I was, abandonment and all of that. So that's why I was just curious. I just was like, Spirit was like, ask that question.
Yeah, and the people who are going to be having those kids are us. Most of the time, most of them. They'll come into whatever situation they need to come in, of course, but a lot of them are going to be coming from us. Last week, we talked about, one of the things we were going to talk about is how to prepare yourself. And I was going to give recommendation as based on Lacey, who ironically is not here, but I think it's still important to go through because it's real simple.
Before you start, I just want to share this.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
My creativity, what I've been doing the last 2 days. I haven't finished it yet. I've got to do the background.
Mermaid.
It's so cute.
Yeah. Go down a little bit.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. Look at the eyes and everything. Love it.
Little squirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing.
Creative, Joanne.
What's that? What's that, Shiloh?
I said that's super creative, Joanne.
Uh,
Really cute.
The inner child coming out.
yeah.
Sorry,
All right.
go ahead.
No, that's fine. And one of the things we're talking about is how to, systems are very important because they allow things to be simplified and repeatable. And they also, systems allow us to find out what is working and what is successful and what's not. And also if something is off in a system, you can troubleshoot it to find out where adjustments need to be made. And I targeted this towards anyone that's doing any kind of healing work. If you're working with people, period, it's very important to have a system in place to protect yourself, family, and even the other person. And then it just allows you to be clear on organizing, setting things up, the works. And so if you do tarot, if you do healing work, if you do any kind of work that involves interacting with people, and I'm talking about like on a spiritual, energetic level, it's important to have a system in place that is going to just keep everything as smooth as can be. And so I said I was going to talk about this today, and I've got a real simple but very powerful, foolproof system, and that you can use, or you could tweak it yourself, but it's really simple. Let's say you're going to work on someone, or even do a reading, or even do tarot, and this goes for even if you do tarot for public, like I know Sonia, you're TikTok, because even that's kind of an exposure, and it will really, really help you, and really like it focuses your intent. Yeah.
Especially if you're sensitive.
Yeah. Step one, you should clear your own energy and yourself before you start. It's real simple. So you want to clear yourself, make sure you're in the right space, you want to become connected to your higher self. You place that intention, connected to the planet, and connected to source reality. So you're connected and you are unified and you're centered and connected. Really simple. Just doing the beginning of the clearing where you connect to the planet, connect to yourself, and then with the intention of connecting to your higher self. Just that portion. And then you're centered and connected, because that's the key. And so, by the way, everyone should be familiar on how to do that by now, because we've had plenty of time. If you didn't get the cheat sheet on what all the mudras mean and all of that, let me know. Just, you can put it in the Patreon or send me a quick email to Ontology Wellness, and I'll send it to you. If you don't have that, it's great to have that if you don't. But just using what you already know can establish that. The centeredness, connectedness, and even the groundedness. And then, so that's what you do for you. And then number two, you want to do it for your environment. The first mudra, clearing your environment. That also means your family as well. And just clearing that. And now you're set up, grounded, and connected. And then number three, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to do it for the people that you're working with, right? You clear their energy because you're interacting with them. And you do have permission to do that because they're coming to you for assistance, you know? And that's part of the assistance, because a lot of us, even remember, every one of us, before we became aware, we carried out this big fucking bag of trauma that we didn't even know we were carrying, at least in my case, right? So a lot of folks are in that category, in that situation. And the people that you're going to be assisting are people that were where you were however long ago that you were there, right? So you clear their energy so that you know what you're going to come in contact with. And if you have the ability to see with the inner eye, you can look in to see what it is that you're going to be encountering. That's not super important if you can't do that. But if you can, yeah. So you know what you're going to encounter and you clear it. And you do, and I do that before I work with anybody. Everybody, because it's just helpful. So you clear yourself, you clear your environment, you clear them, and next, of course, if you haven't guessed it, you clear their environment. If you're working and doing something for someone in general, let's say your social media is a perfect place because this is where most of us do it. You're doing like a tarot, or you're doing like general readings. Before you start, you just clear for everyone that's going to be a part of it, because it's already known who's going to be there. It's already known who's going to see your TikTok or your video or your work 2-3 years from now. Even if it's a book, a writing, whatever it is, 2-3, it's known. You clear for that. And anybody who comes in will be benefited in the highest way possible. So you clear your environment there. And that's it. That's just 4 simple steps. Clear yourself, clear your environment. Clear them, clear your environment. That way, there's nothing left out of the equation. I'm going to add one last thing, though. And it's actually probably the most important. How much work you do on yourself. And I'm going to be very specific with that word, because if we say inner work, but then I get a lot of questions of what is inner work? What does that mean? Because this reality doesn't make it popular for you to know what that is, as you know. It's working on those aspects here, working on the inner child, getting that all squared away. And by the way, that doesn't last forever. The way we do it here and the way I do it in using source reality in the living organic network, which is your higher self is a part of. It takes care of it like that. Boom, boom, boom. And then the emotional body, because those are the 2 places where the shit that happens to us that's where the trauma lays. It lays in the body, but it's sitting in the emotional body. It's sitting in the inner child. And of course, you have the other aspects, but they don't carry as much of the load as those two. So once those two are taken care of, the rest of them, generally speaking, because nothing is absolute, generally speaking, your temporal body or your time body, as we go along, you'll know what those are, and your creative body and your astral body and all of those, and the body of the ancestors, all of those are a lot less it's a lot less heavy of work to do than those first two. Because think about it, when you're a child, that's when we're all targeted by this reality, until the day comes where that's going to be gone, because that's not going to be the reality on earth for long. It just takes time for it to leave. And then it's the emotional bond. And those are the two that are developed most and focused on most when you're between the ages of 1 and 7, emotional body, inner child, and 7 and 14. That's when the emotional body really takes its development. So that's where most of the stuff is. And in no time, you can take care of that. It's not always easy. And for this release work, of course, because I don't candy coat everything. But once you get it done, the blockages that have been there for you all of your life, because they just affect you, whether you turn a blind eye to them or not, they're affecting you all the time. All of a sudden, you replace them with the stuff that you would put there instead of the stuff that someone else put there. I think you'd make a better decision on what you put there than what someone else put there, right? So to the extent that that is taken care of, it's going to be equivalent at how effective you are at doing everything in your life, including helping others, because it correlates. How much you have done with the interior work correlates with how effective you're going to be in doing the same for someone else. And so it has an effect on everything. So I always stress that. So with those things in line, doing the work, helping humanity is going to be a much more smoother task. And even if you find that there's still some stuff, at least because you have a system, maybe I need to go, okay, maybe I need to look somewhere else. Maybe there's a blind spot. And then you talk to your spirit, boom, your higher self, your ancestors. And boom, the answer comes in the form of, say, another person or situation. The answer will always come. So any questions or even suggestions on that?
I was gonna say, it sounds really a lot like that's working with the chakras, because your roots chakra deals with your inner child, that trauma that you were hiding and putting down, and then the next one, which would be what, your sacral, and then once you can open up those, and then you start opening up all of them, and then you can clear them, and then you start over again. And then instead of the root chakra where the trauma, you can replace that with whatever you want to replace it in, and then you move it all, you move up to your sacral. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I will say this: I don't have any chakras anymore. Because I've integrated them, but it does make sense. And this is the chakra conversation is one that I was going to have. It needs its own time. But since you brought it up, we all start off with our original energy centers. I'll just bring it because I don't want to throw a bomb out there and then all of a sudden, what's he talking about? He didn't even explain it, blah, blah, blah. We all start off with our original energy centers, which are 3. And at about the age of 15 months to 18 months, this reality places the chakras onto us. So while you have them, yes, that's actually absolutely correct, 100%. So while you have them, what you just said does apply. And with what you just said, you just can't integrate your chakras right away. You have to wait till the time is right. Okay? So because there are many, because you don't want anyone coming near those chakras, first of all, number one. And your spirit, your higher self does the integration. You do it. You do it. And I have experience with that. In that my higher self did it for me because I had locks on my chakras when I discovered chakras. Someone that I was close to, they says, your chakras, they have this chain, these locks on them. And then we kind of went through it, and she did a reading, and she says, your higher self is the only person that can remove them. The only being that can, you're the only being that can remove them. And I found out they were there because my chakras could not be manipulated. So he locked them down. So I give you, lock them down. That's why it came to me with the ball and chain thing. Yeah, that I had to do that. We're just talking about energy work that we did together. But anyway, so it does apply. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the chakras because I can't. You have to, once you start, so you have to get to a point where at least people understand what you're talking about. Right? So the chakras exist so they don't, if you have an eye to see, and this is easy, you look inside the womb of a woman that's having a baby, you won't find chakras on them. You look at a newborn, you won't find any of those chakras on them because they won't survive with them. Right? And I have a few videos. I might even put them up. And I'll put a couple of them up in the video section this week. They exist. They're not even inside of the body. They exist just outside of the body. I think anywhere from 3 to 6 inches. So they're not inside of you. And there are 6. And they're up and down, right? Nothing in this universe is linear. Nothing organic is linear. Right?
Right.
Everything is circular in this universe. Things revolve around each other, round, elliptical, circular, da-da-da. They exist just outside the body. Everything else exists inside. And the chakras, they get gunked up. They're not spinning together. They are out of alignment, all of these things. I have one question to ask you. Do you ever have to tell your heart to beat properly or to slow down or to speed up or to work with the lungs and to work with the liver and all the other organs? No, they synergistically just do what they do. And unless there's a condition, of course, an illness or something, they just do what they do on their own and they don't need your attention. Other than diet, rest, and lifestyle. That's it. But the chakras, they're like a machine because that's what they are. They need your energy. They need this, they need that. So they are artificial, but you don't screw with them and you work with them as long as you have them. So you're absolutely correct. And I'll do even more work on that. And when the point comes, you'll get to a point in your spiritual evolution where you can no longer go. There's a ceiling with the chakras. When that time comes, you will know it. And that's when you speak to your higher self and you ask for them to be integrated and the original ones brought back. There are people out there who remove chakras. Don't let them come anywhere near you.
No, and see, it's chakras for me. It this like the whole. This is like one of the reasons why my tattoo is very significant. Like that's how I became part of the awoke because I felt them. I felt like I felt snakes going up and down my spine. I could literally feel snakes going up and down my spine when I was going through my awakening, and it was so painful for me. and I was giving birth. Because I have my, like, I had to have a hysterectomy from one of the illnesses that I have, so I
Yeah.
can no longer give birth. But I was giving birth, like, you know, I just felt my lower back, like it was like I was pregnant, and I was planting seeds that have come to fruition already.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't realize that I was doing that at the time. Like I said, my back, and I also felt like under my shoulder blades, like it just was hurting. And again, that was like spirit telling me, like, I had cut my wings off, and I'm growing them back, like because I'm an earth angel. I'm many things, you know.
Exactly.
But that's why it's very, for me, the snakes, like, because those snakes that's part of my awakening. They unblocked them, so I was able to utilize them for my awakening.
That's funny that the serpent energy is very powerful, and again, another energy that's been vilified here because of its power. But anyway, by the way, when I talk about this stuff, it's not to delegitimize anyone's experience. It's to just say, hey, here's what I found. You can also look into it for yourself as well. Talk to your higher self, because I don't want anybody to take what I have to say at face value ever.
Do your research. Always about
Exactly.
you with everybody, and I even use it with myself. I use it with everybody. I use it with you. I use it with, when I watch TikToks, I'm like, whatever, you know. You
have to, you should, because it is the lack of, you know, really questioning and putting people's feet to the fire that has us where we are. We accept everything as human, not you, of course, but as human beings, we accepted way too much without actually asking questions as to what things are. And of course, I'm no different. I did the same thing growing up in religion. And then finally, when I started asking the question, boom, things changed amazingly. So let's see. What have we got here? 5:54. It's not going to be enough time to do that, but it's also really important. Did anyone rewatch and put it up on the Patreon, that video talking about the living organic network and all of that? You watched it? Okay. Jane, did you watch that?
Yeah.
You did? Okay, great. So I tell you what, because of time, I'm going to put that off till next week, because we're going to go through some. I'm going to go through some more into a little bit in depth with that. And the reason why I'm doing it isn't because I don't think you guys don't know. It's because I think I watched it 25, 30 times from one of my mentors, Cameron Day, and his was it's 2.5 hours. But I realized we didn't really have a discussion on any of that, and so I really want to do that. And the reason is it's so important, because as we get later on into this work, it becomes impactful to understand the relationship between you and yourself and source reality and the living organic network, which is what's behind all of this, all created in source reality by our own family to assist us, to help us remember that aspect of ourselves. And I also suggest that it's not a thing that's it can sound a bit like a separation, but you can speak to your family in source reality. I want to know when I do my clearings, who in source am I working with? I've done that, by the way. It's pretty interesting. But I won't talk about it because everybody's experience is different. Your family is different than my family. And it's quite amazing, the different kinds of beings. And most of them were not male or female. They were androgynous. Our higher selves are androgynous. Yeah. And it was quite interesting because the amount of love and non-judgment that comes from the interaction, it's like they're They love you and they're in love with you. And that part of ourselves, I don't want to say, I say they, but I mean us as in they, because they're like your cousins, your brothers, your sisters up there. They created this non-intrusive kind of way to connect that didn't interfere with our lives here. It gave us a choice to connect or not to. And indeed, it's been amazing for me, you know, and it's great because all the old kind of ways, you know, that us as humans have been taught to rely, the salvation programming, you can't do it there because they're not going to do that. They're not going to disempower us like that. The kinds of things that we are encouraged to do by other beings here with their books and their stuff to give our power away, that won't happen with them. They want us to discover who we are because we've been down here long enough. They want us home.
Right.
You know? So I really want to talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to leave that for next week. And then I'll put this video up. And is there anything you guys would want to know anything about? I don't know. How do I put that? As far as stuff to put up. If you guys have any questions or anything.
I have a question. Just
Yeah.
mentioned when we were talking about serpent energy, and that like did a little ping in my head. What is it? Can you talk more about that? Is that something that you can touch more base on?
You know what? I might touch base on that in a longer thing. I might even do. Why don't I just do a live on it, and I'll make sure well in advance. And the lives are show my age, are recorded. I'm putting them on Ontology Media, YouTube, all of them. So
Okay, yeah.
if you want to see old lives, you can go there. I'm uploading them time to time. Serpent energy is a part of this planet. And we once lived with serpent beings on this planet, one-on-one, together. And as the patriarchal nature that we are now pushing through the door took over, those beings had to leave. And the remnants of them are here. You ever heard of the Hindus have a set of being called the Nagas, Naga?
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah. They are the serpent beings. And that energy is particularly powerful and rises and clears and is connected to our sexual energy. The most powerful energy we possess is our sexual energy. Think about it. We create life with it.
Oh, I believe.
I'm okay to say this.
That's a whole nother book.
I realized when I was going through through the thick of it that my father molested me. So that may have something to do with that.
Yes, because the attempt is to weaken that energy, and it can't really be weakened. But if you get disconnected from it, then you can't benefit from it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things actually that you've been an expert on with your with the yoni steams and the work that you do that way. And so there's a lot of healing that when it occurs in that region, the genital region, which is the creative force, you have a portal there, you bring life through it, and not just human life. You can bring all kinds of life forms here through that portal. That's why the woman is so powerful. The feminine is so powerful. In the spirit world, let me put it to you this way, you fuck around women over here in the physical world, you're gonna have to deal with that shit in the spiritual world, because the powerful beings in the spiritual world are feminine or androgynous. The masculine is the weakest of the three in the spirit world, and that's the world that lasts forever, not this physical freaking fake
No
shit.
doubt.
Matrix.
Yeah. So that's why the feminine is so targeted here, because of your power.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense as to why and because right now I'm like, those are blocked off. Like I haven't, that's just, because I'm using that energy in other ways right now because I'm healing that energy. Because again, I put my father on a pedestal and I always compared, and I didn't realize that he had did this to me until like the beginning of this year when I went through the thick of it. And I was just like, holy shit. He did.
He did. Yeah. It's like you're, and this is not taking over responsibility, because they allow themselves to be taken over. They're used to try to disconnect you from that, but it didn't succeed, because look what you're doing now. You found out and you've taken care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You're
he
taking
passed
care of
away 4 years ago. And it was literally, Spirit is letting me know now. I was there when he was on his deathbed. He was doing his shadow work, his dark night of the soul on his deathbed. I see that now. But when I was just, before when I wasn't awake, I was just like, oh my God, the pain. But he was like doing he was going through it, because you have to go through it. You can't,
Yeah,
So-
he didn't want to die with that. And to be honest, that is, it happens a lot to us. I was sexually molested.
Yeah.
Almost
And
everybody that I know that's awakened, that's on their path, was sexually molested. It's sort of like one of the check marks that they have to do to us.
Same here.
To stop us. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It is one of those things, like almost like I know who someone is. I don't have to see them. I go, if they tell me this, and if sexual molestation is involved, abuse of all kinds involved from childhood, that's a tick mark right there.
Yeah.
Almost guaranteed that person is here to do some stuff. And that was done to stop you from doing your stuff and get you caught up into that and destroy you.
Mhm.
And if you are here, not even here, but if you are here and you're just living a normal life with the ability to actually do something about it, they have failed. Now it's up to us, after having survived that, to undo it. Because anything that's done to any of us, done to you, can be undone.
Yeah. And it happened to him and his sister. So that's where the generational,
Yeah.
happened. And and my mom and my sister had a girl. Again, I tell them this while I'm in the freaking psychiatric facility. So of course they're like, they aren't going to believe it. But now my mom, she believes me.
Oh.
And I use the card to talk to her, because that's the only way that I can actually talk to my mother, is through the divination of the cards. Because, if I were to sit and talk with her like me and this, she would go, it's Karen. I'm talking to Karen.
Yeah. The ego would take over. You're bypassing that ego. Yeah.
Yeah. So I found using the cards is a great way to connect with my mother and actually work and start healing her. Of course, I can't heal her, but she's on her healing journey too.
Okay, good. And this is how, you break they call it so-called generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
By actually doing something, you're actually doing, when you heal that region, you're already done. That's not going to happen to anybody after you, because the buck stopped there with you. You said, enough of that shit, it's over.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Very powerful. And, that is something that is very important. We actually, Joanna and I have, a system for anybody that, that you don't have to, but if anyone that needs assistance with that,
Mm-hmm.
so, no reliving of any stories. Matter of fact, we don't want to hear the stories. That's part of the problem. So we don't, you don't need to relive the experiences and all that.
I don't remember. I just know that he did it. They just, you know what I mean? That's all I know, is that he did it to me, but I can't, I suppress some of the, I don't need to know it. I just need to know that he did it.
exactly. And then you could, and then there you go. That's all it's-
Yeah, I've forgiven him. I'm like, I'm like, we're good. We're good. I forgave him. But he's gone. He's been reincarnated again. I already know this.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
forgive yourself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Holding
yeah.
on
I
to
did.
anything, and the forgiving of the self is not because it happened, but for holding on to it maybe a little too long, and that we all do that. So
True.
yeah, I will put something together on serpent energy.
That's awesome. Because it was a beautiful experience to feel that. It was painful as F, but it was
Yeah.
beautiful. Feel them up
Yeah.
and down lines. I was like,
Yeah, that is wonderful.
thank you.
No worries. I will put something together now. It'll take me a little time, so it's not going to be like
That's
next week because I want to research and actually, if not break it down quite simply.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Is that it? This Lacey count? Oh, okay. All right, guys. It's over. We're just it's over for today, and I'll be just uploading some video stuff.
And thanks
And
for
that-
participating in the
Thank you.
signal. I'm
Yes.
so glad day one of gratitude.
Yes.
It's cool.
Yeah, and you guys are. I can't always participate as much as I want, but I try to go in there as much as I can. But it's always popping in there, guys. So it's like so happy that to be able to socialize and talk about whatever the heck you want in there.
Mhm.
All right. So until next, well, not until next week, until whenever, but until the next Zoom next week. This weekend I'll be in
Big Sur.
Big Sur, having an experience. There's some things that I'm going to be taking in, and I'm going to be doing it through an experience, and I will be talking about that in depth as much as it can be spoken about my experiences there. It's being done there, and 5 others with my mentor there. So that's what I've got going on this weekend. I fly out tomorrow. Yeah. So you probably won't be hearing much from me on the signal.
I will, sir. I'm staying here. So. I'll still be here.
Well, safe travels.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'll see you guys later.
And Sonia, you're gonna stay behind and
Bye, guys.
see you all. Have a good rest of your evening.
All right. Oh yeah, let's. Okay. Yeah. We don't. Stop recording. Recording stopped.